Welcome to The Real Life Buyer. In this podcast, you will discover interviews with procurement and technical experts, business owners, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders. These experts will help you to develop and grow, accelerate your career, improve your business, save money, and buy smart. Now introducing The Real Life Buyer, Dave Barr.
Hello, and welcome to The Real Life Buyer podcast. Today, I'm excited to introduce you to Nate Palmer. Nate is a fitness and nutrition expert, coach, speaker, and author who believes that being in incredible shape gives a massive advantage in business, focus, and relationships. Nate is a father, husband, and author of 2 best-selling books, creator and founder of Bod in a Box, the HIIT Home Gym, and host of the $1 Million Body podcast. Nate helps business owners and entrepreneurs improve their physique while gaining extreme focus and clarity to help them do more work in less time while still having a ton of energy, I hope, to enjoy the family in the evenings. Today, I wish to understand how working on our diet and fitness will help you achieve your desired physique and levels of energy to skyrocket your career and personal life. So, without further ado, I'm delighted to welcome Nate onto the podcast. Hello, Nate.
Dave, thanks for having me. That was quite the intro. Makes me sound like a big deal, and I'm actually not. So
I'm sure you are.
Hate to let you down. Be the bearer of bad news. I must have written that while I was definitely high on some Nate Palmer stuff, apparently, I guess.
Well, we'll soon put you to the test. So let's see what happens, right? So can we begin with you sharing some of your background? Obviously, there's a number of listeners who may not come across your work that has led you to your professional career in nutrition and fitness. And if you can, if there's any specific personal story that encouraged you to become a health coach, we'd love to hear that too.
Yeah. So I think about there's basically 3 distinct events that kind of led me on the journey and put me where I'm at today. The first one was when I was 12 years old. I was home by myself and my mom was dropping my younger sisters off at school. Someone broke into my house. And so I grabbed a steak knife out of the knife block. I hid under my bed and I heard this man come down the hallway and pound on my bedroom door as a 12-year-old. And I remember in that moment, Dave, feeling like I don't ever want to feel like this powerlessness again. I don't ever want to feel like my autonomy has been completely stripped. Like I have no recourse. I can't do anything in this situation. And I thought to myself as a 12-year-old, you know how I do that? Neck tattoos and having tons of muscles, right? So no one can ever mess with me again. And so that kind of propelled me into the physical fitness space because became obsessed with how do I become bigger and stronger. Then the second kind of event that led me into being actually like a personal trainer, kind of starting this journey off, was in 2008. I'm graduating from college and graduating from university, and I'm shirking 100% of all of my classes in order to just read decades worth, like seriously, 10, 12, 15 years of archived articles and message boards and forums about weight training, about nutrition. And I was just fascinated with that. I loved it so much. And so I started as a personal trainer in 2008. I worked like that for close to 7 years. And then I started working as an online coach in 2015, not doing a great job, to be totally honest with you. I thought I was a pretty good personal trainer and I thought that I would just transfer those skills. It's totally different. So in 2018, I kind of had another revelation, and it came in the form of a client reaching out to me and saying, "Hey, Nate, so I have no energy for my family." Like that's my first and foremost thing. He's like, "Yes, I have 40 pounds to lose. I got 20 kilos to drop. Yes, I drink 3 energy drinks per day. Yes, I eat out every single day because I'm driving my truck around building a business." He's like, "But the primary thing is that I don't have any energy for my kids. I crash out at home. I watch sports for 30 minutes and then I'm grumpy the rest of the night. And I have 2 glasses of wine. I fall asleep and I'm tired when I wake up." And he's like, I was like, "Okay, cool." And he's like, "I don't care about losing weight. I'm not going to train. And I am going to eat fast food 5 times per week. What do you have for me?" And I was like, "Okay. I like where your head is at because you have a singular goal." He didn't say, "I want to run a marathon. I want to gain muscle. I want to lose fat. I want to have more energy." He said, "No, I need more energy." I was like, "Great." So I came up with a program based off of what I consider peak level body and bio optimization. So how do you work with the rhythms of your body, especially when it comes to our career path? How do we make sure that we're on the right track so that our energy is on point when we need it to be in the morning? We have a lot of focus and mental acuity. We don't feel bogged down in the afternoon when we're trying to check those boxes and get our to-dos done. And then how do we show up big time for our family when in the evening, we don't have to just take a nap before we can have a good time with our kids? So I wrote a program based off of the science. It's called glycogen priming, how to use blood sugar levels to modulate your energy all day long. So I gave him this program. I was like, here you go. Here's what you're going to eat when you eat out at fast food restaurants. Here are 5 different options. Go. Fast forward 2 months. I was like, Jason, how's it going, man? He goes, it's amazing. It's incredible. My energy is like here. He's like, I've cut way back on the caffeine, but I still feel awesome. I don't feel like I've got that crash. I wake up with energy. Like it's been working out really well. I'm like, that's fantastic. Exactly what we wanted. I was like, let's work on the next step then. He's like, hold up. I didn't finish. I was like, sorry. He goes, I also lost 22 pounds. I also lost 11 kilos in the last 2 months. And I was like, we might have just done something here. We might be onto something. And so from then on, 2018 on, I've been firmly of the opinion that by focusing first on your body's energy and how you can utilize your natural tendencies and the natural rhythms of the day and focus on that first, the weight loss comes so easily. And if you have the focus you need, you're going to feel really good and you're going to drop fat fast. Now, when we focus on the opposite, you focus only on like losing weight, dieting, dropping calories and stuff like that, your energy flags, you might get the fat loss results you're looking for a time, but it's never sustainable and it always comes back. And so when people talk about the $1 Million Body Method, a book I wrote, and the glycogen priming method, which is kind of the science it's based off of, the thing that I hear so often, and I just love hearing it so much, it's not like, oh my gosh, I have a 6-pack and all the babes want to talk to me. It's no, they go, this doesn't feel like a diet to me. This is just how I eat now. It's so easy. And I think that my job is done. That is what I've needed to do. That's what the industry needs, not more oiled up guys on social media, of which unfortunately I am one. So
fantastic. I like it. So you mentioned 2 books. Let's just repeat that, people. So the first one, I believe, which you released around about in May 2018, was Passport Fitness, the no-nonsense guide to staying in shape no matter what city you wake up in. So I guess that's about the business type arrangement. And then released, I think was January of last year, that's 2021, the $1 Million Body Method, the Entrepreneur's Diet for Superhuman Focus. It's the second one that I've had the pleasure of reading just recently. So obviously, no disrespect, but there's an awful lot of health guys out there, nutrition experts. There's millions of people claiming to be lots of different things. And let's be honest. So what is it that you could say that actually sets you apart from other health, fitness, and nutrition practitioners?
I mean, aside from my good looks and charm, Dave.
Indeed.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm glad you brought it up because there's a lot of noise out there, right? And I don't want to talk shit about, anyone specifically, but there are a lot of people masquerading as health and fitness experts who are people who have gotten in shape themselves and are like, I'll just give you the thing that I did. And I'm like, you're 22. When I was 22, I smoked cigarettes and I drank beer 8 nights a week. And I had a 6-pack too. Like that doesn't take a lot of it's like, talk to me when you're 30, talk to me when you're 40. Like, let's have that conversation. So I think that there's a lot of people out there just espousing like one singular thing that seemed to work for them without having any really knowledge of biomechanics, how the human body actually functions, what circadian rhythms are like, what your body needs, what the levers are to pull, and the knobs are that need to get turned to create results. So that is one thing that I think I bring to the table. And I'm not unique in that aspect. There are a lot of smart people out there, and there are a lot of diets and exercise plans that do work. And I will not stand here and say, hey, $1 Million Body Method, this is the only way. I won't lie to you like that. I'm a no BS kind of a guy. So I'm gonna tell you, this is an awesome plan. If you're a high performer and your energy is first and foremost your biggest aspect what you need to focus on, this is the number one thing you should be checking out. If you're looking for fat loss results, there are a lot of things that can work for you. But you got to ask yourself the question, at the end of the day, if it's not sustainable, is it even worth it? Like if Dave, you're like, hey, I need to lose weight real quick, and you ate only tilapia and asparagus for the next month, you drop 8 kilos. It would happen. You'd hate every second of it, and you'd gain it all right back when you stop doing it, but you would drop that weight. Was it worth it? I think no. I think if we can't find something that's sustainable that you can keep long-term, don't even bother, because your body doesn't get a lot of drops. You don't get to drop weight 15 times in your life without that affecting you. That comes back. That adds up to metabolic slowdown, to your body not necessarily knowing how to partition nutrients. It's negative. So the thing that makes me different is the focus here is not necessarily on how do you just drop fat fast? Because that was the case. I'd be like, you just all you got to do is eat like garbage fish and vegetables. And everyone's going to be like, yeah, it worked for a time. The focus for me is always, how do we manage your body's energy and cravings to create the focus you need for the day and the physique that you want for your life?
Brilliant. You mentioned a few words in that, and there's the classic things. Everybody wants to be healthier, slimmer, and fitter. And as you quite rightly said, we are bombarded with diets, pills, potions, obviously going to different gyms and so on and so forth. Obviously, so people can achieve their aspirations. So if we sort of stand back and look at this from a kind of helicopter perspective, what do you see as being the main contributing factors to why people fail when they go on these other diets? What sort of are the key priority or the issues here that we need to tackle?
You're asking the good questions right now, Dave. And I'm so happy you brought this up, because the main reason, I feel like there's two main reasons that I'll get on a soapbox about today. And I'm sorry that all my answers feel like I'm ranting, but I am a little bit. The number one reason is that they're not sustainable. Like the Whole30, I'll give you an example. Whole30, have you heard of that diet before? Have you done it?
No,
Tried it?
I haven't, I'm afraid, no.
It was put out. It's a book, and then it's a diet. It's a 30-day kind of reset where you pull away all the foods that could potentially cause inflammation, allergies, different things like that. So in that way, Dave, it's an awesome diet. It's fantastic. I've done it for 30 days. I lost a lot of weight. But the thing about the Whole30 is, if you don't prep your food in the morning, if you don't have legit like Tupperware with your food in it, you can't eat anywhere. You can't go out to eat. And if you want to stay on Whole30, you just starve. All day long, if you didn't prep, you starve. That's the only option. So it's not sustainable. It's not something that you can keep doing for a long term. And even like the diet's inventor says, hey, it's a 30-day reset. Don't do it for the long term. But I think that when you come up on these like diets, like the keto diet, which doesn't allow for any carbohydrates, and anytime you do have carbohydrates, number one, you're out of ketosis, regardless of what it says on the packaging of your like non-sugar chocolate brownies, or like, and also that it causes cellular damage. So like, it's again, not sustainable, and also borderline unhealthy, because if you ever have a bagel or a beer, you're going to slide backwards. It's going to damage your cells. Like, and that's not worth it. So I think sustainability is the number one aspect that diets don't take into consideration, because like any idiot can write a training program that's going to make you sore. If being sore was the metric by which training programs were judged, Dave, I'd be like, let's go outside. You're going to lunge 1,000 times. And then when you fall over, then you're done. Like, okay, that's your workout. That's stupid. Yeah. Same with the diet. Any idiot can write a diet that's going to help you lose weight. All you have to do is eat buffalo, or you got to eat bison and cauliflower. That's it. Like I just invented a diet. Heard of the cotton ball diet? That's a real thing. You know, people are sewing patches on their tongue to keep them from eating. That's a real thing. But at the end of the day, none of those things last. And if you don't create the right habits and don't create the right links of like, hey, my health and fitness is related to my financial success. My health and fitness is related to my energy with my kids. And if you can't link those two things, then nobody gives a shit about how much weight you lost, because it's all coming back because you don't have the fortitude to sustain it. So the big number one is it sustainable? Number two, snacking. People snack too much. Snacking more often creates more cravings. The more you eat, the more you digest, the slower your brain goes. Snacking is single-handedly responsible for, I would consider, a majority of the obesity epidemic.
All right. You mentioned a number of different diets there. And this is one of the things I'm quite interested in the respect that obviously biology is biology. But one of the things that concerns me in some ways is there doesn't appear to be any regulation. So exactly as you just said, if I want to make up a diet tomorrow and sell it, that's okay. But that may be something that's quite damaging to an individual. Do you think there should be some kind of regulations that, that a diet will not negatively impact somebody in a big way? What do you think about that?
That's a good question. And honestly, Dave, if you want to go into business tomorrow with me, we can come up with a great diet. There's a lot of crazy stuff out there. It wouldn't even be the weirdest one. I think the bison and cauliflower diet could really be something. But this is a tough question though, too, because I'm not a fan of like extra government regulations. And I don't feel like, for the most part, we need more rules and laws, because like on one hand, there's a diet called the carnivore diet, which is primarily based on meat and really minimizes plant products, grains, that sort of thing. So on one hand, that's stupid. You need to eat fruits and vegetables. It's obvious, So like, if you look at our teeth, you see we've got the canine teeth for chewing meat. We got the front teeth for biting and we got the back teeth for grinding. So like our mouths are designed for an omnivore diet. So being like, oh, we're going to do the carnivore diet, but should it be outlawed? No, I think that would be silly, right? Same with like the vegan diet. Like I understand where people have the idea about like, well, like animal cruelty, protecting the planet. I understand that. But like from a dietary perspective, veganism is a very advanced diet that a lot of companies take advantage of because they're like, hey, it's a vegan food. They don't tell you it's 500 additional calories. And if you just ate the animal-based version of this, it'd be a lot more protein, a lot less calories. So like, should that be outlawed? Absolutely not. But should everyone do it? Probably not as well. So I think the onus needs to be on the individual to do their research, which is tricky. Like you mentioned, there's a lot of noise.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I think it comes down to find someone that you can trust that has a background in two things. Number one, they're science-based and they're evidence-based. So like they see the research, they know the research, but they also see what works because there's too many people who are just science-based who never have actually worked with a client in their life. I wrote an article for Huffington Post one time, and I got this backlash from this professor who emailed me and said, hey, you're everything that's wrong with the fitness industry. I was crushed, man. Because I like the question that I wrote the article about was, what should you do first, cardio or strength training? Which is a question that a lot of people deal with, right?
Yeah.
And my answer was strength first and then cardio. If you want to burn more fat, if you have a lot more weight to lose, 50, 60 pounds, do cardio first and then weight training. And that was like, so there's the answer. But he was like, well, it's really different for each person. The glycolytic pathway is X, Y, and Z thing. And I was like, that's really all well and good from a scientific perspective. But man, it's very clear to me you've never worked with a human before. So like on one hand, you have those like the science-based people, but they've never worked with people. On the other hand, you have the people like I talked about earlier who have worked with themselves. They're 22, they got in shape and they think they can start training people, but they have no background in science. So we need to be wise. And we need to have like cognition around who's a charlatan, who is just trying to sell me a supplement, who's going to talk about their diet and be like, yeah, you don't have to do this. It's probably not the number one diet. Who can say that rather than being like, no, this is it. Dogmatic. You have to do this one. This is the number one, the only thing you should be doing. Like we got to be wise when we think about those things because when things sound too good to be true, guess what? They definitely are. And especially in health and fitness, where the supplement industry is poised to be a $5 billion industry this coming year, Dave. Insane, absolutely insane. And the promises they make for supplements, because again, there's no government regulation, there's no FDA regulation on supplements. They can say whatever they want to. Hey, take this protein powder. It's going to give you muscles on your everywhere. Man, I'm really trying not to swear a lot.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. One of the things that I stumbled across, certainly when I was younger, and is reference to people's body shape. So you get people a bit like their pear shape or apple shape and so forth. Does it matter about the shape when you're looking at a diet? Does your diet take into any consideration a person's shape, or is it purely about diet and exercise in the way that you put it across?
There's a good question. And there's been a lot of like kind of contradictory research. Some people say, hey, like mesotypes, what's called ectomorph, endomorph, or mesomorph. Ectomorph being really skinny, slender, kind of the build I have. Mesomorph being like puts on muscle just looking at a dumbbell. And then the endomorph being someone who just gains fat a little bit easier, bigger joints, kind of just a bigger boned person. Some people say those are real and we need to accommodate their like carbs and fats basically differently. Everyone basically agrees protein needs to stay the same, but we manipulate the carbs and the fats for these different groups. But then some people say, hey, looking at the research, it doesn't much matter what their body type or their soma type is. It really only matters what their macronutrients are like, what their diet and exercise is like, kind of like you said. So I think there's probably a blend here, but I think more of it is based off of individual preferences and individual activity levels rather than soma types as much. But I also think that you have to find out what works for you. So I found that a lot of ladies especially do much better on a lower carb, higher fat diet because not necessarily because of a soma type, but because the fats help their hormones express themselves in a healthier way. So it helps regulate their hormones. It makes sure they kind of smooth out that all day energy, but it's not necessarily related to pear shape, apple shape, whatever else. It's more about what's interacting well with their energy level. And especially as ladies enter kind of pre and postmenopausal states, the higher fats really can be helpful. So it is kind of figuring out where you're at, what you need. And in terms of my diet, well, I don't take that into account at all, because all I'm looking at is what does your body need to create energy for the day? And I always think of fat. That's a low impact fuel. That's something that you can, like, you're working on a PowerPoint presentation, you're doing a podcast, you're standing up and speaking, you're not digging a big ditch or running a triathlon. Fat is the number one fuel for you. But if you are running a triathlon, if you are doing something heavy duty exercise, you need some carbs. So figuring out what do you need on a daily basis? What does your day look like? How much time are you exercising? How much time are you spending on your feet? Are you walking a lot? What kind of energy do you need to actually dominate the tasks at hand? And I think that is a lot more important to me, because the primary demographic that I'm working with are entrepreneurs, high performers, busy dads. So they A, resonate with it, and they B, see the results fast, because they're like, oh my gosh, my energy's up and my weight is down. Let's keep going.
Okay. One of the sayings I was told, certainly as I was a young lad, which is a long time ago now, I won't go into that, was eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and dinner like a pauper. Is it right that we should be front loading calories towards the earlier part of the day? And if not, why not?
So in my book, I talk about basically the 100% the opposite, except for maybe breakfast and lunch are flipped. So like that saying comes from thinking that, hey, you need to eat a bunch of food for breakfast. That way, all day long, you can burn off the food. But think about this. So I worked at a supermarket when I was younger, and I was, and I was always restocking the milk and the foods and stuff like that. So when you think about it, like someone comes in and they grab the milk out, right? And rather than going and grabbing milk and I put it back right in the front like that, right? The first in, first out, like, because now we have that milk just sitting in the back, just kind of accumulating. So like they pull it out, I put a new one in. They pull it out, I put a new one in. Then all this stuff is just going to sit there, right? And it's going to go bad. So what do we do instead? They pull one out, I go around back and I put one on back. They pull one out, I put another one on back, right? So it's the last in, first out model, LIFO. So so the breakfast like a king, that's a FIFO, first in, first out model. It's like eat the food, burn the food, which is not conducive to improving your focus, and it's not conducive to burning a lot of fat. To burn more fat, you need to train your body to burn fat. So what you're doing with a big breakfast is you're training your body to burn food. So you eat the food, you burn the food, and your fat just sits there. With a lighter breakfast that focuses on proteins and fats with no carbohydrates, you're not giving your body a very easy to access energy source. You're forcing it to work a little bit harder. So you're telling it, hey, you can pull from the fats that we have in this meal, but you can also pull from stored fats. So once you kind of start that trend, your body will continue to pull from stored fats all day long to accommodate the work that you need. Again, I said it's a low impact fuel. So most of us are not doing heavy duty work all day long. We're working with our brains. My clients are mental athletes. They're not physical athletes. So with that in mind, we're keeping our calories pretty low, pretty not super high all day. Lunch is really light, like just carbs and vegetables. Okay. Because I want you to have the focus for the afternoon to check those boxes, because when you're a little bit hungry, you actually have an increased mental acuity. You can get more done in less time. And because like, if you think about it from an evolutionary perspective, when are people going to hunt? After a big meal? They just eat a woolly mammoth. You hit your friend Grog. You're like, what's up? Let's go hunting. He's like, nah, I'm going to take a nap for 3 days. No, you're going to hunt when you're hungry. And so to accommodate that, you have a little bit better focus. You can see a little bit better. You can see a little bit clearer. Your hearing actually improves. Your hand-eye coordination is better when you're hungry. So if you can reframe those hunger signals that we sometimes get midday, mid-afternoon to be like, no, it's energy signals. You can start actually using your body's natural evolutionary mechanisms towards the thing that you want. So you don't have to fight your body now. You use your body's tools. Your body loves you. It's so cool. And we can use those tools to actually get the goals that we want to get. Like that's when we start being really successful. So going back to your question about that, I think that is completely flipped, especially when it comes to an energetic perspective. Can you still lose weight doing that method? Sure. But I don't prefer that. It makes you more tired. It slows the fat burn process down. And I think the number one thing is that it just promotes you burning the food that you just ate. I also think it doesn't take into consideration that if you eat a big dinner, you still have all that energy ready to go for the next day. So you eat a big dinner, your body turns carbohydrates into glycogen, and then glycogen goes into your liver and into your muscles. Okay. And then you sleep and you wake up and you still have all that glycogen. So you can burn that off when you're doing other stuff.
Okay, that's
You
interesting.
don't need to fuel up.
Yeah. Okay. I guess that's what this next bit. When I was reading your book, one of the things that took me back a little bit was the fact you mentioned about having protein shakes for breakfast, and that's why I referred to that last analogy just now. Now, believe it or not, and you might be surprised that I used to go to the gym quite a lot as a young guy. I used to spend hours and hours in the gym, and I worked out quite a lot. And so I became quite familiar with protein shakes at that time. Now we are reversing the clock by about 30 years, but there we go. But obviously now, looking at my son who's in his late teenage years, he's very much into protein shakes. And the thing I noticed is this huge array of scientific sounding ingredients and claims. And when I was trying to help him to select something, I think this is really difficult. So how can sort of Joe Public like me ensure they purchase the right type of protein shake for yourself or another person?
This is a good question. And I'm going to give you 3 metrics that you can judge protein shakes by. Okay. And there's a lot of nuance to this. We can go a lot deeper onto all these things. I can talk about stuff that nobody cares about in terms of protein shakes because I've just done so much research. I'm not going to today, and you're welcome. But here's what you need to look for. Number 1, you need a whey protein isolate. Are there other types that work? Yes. Whey protein isolate is the best for your money. It digests really well. It's pretty inexpensive. By the way, did you know that the biggest supplier of whey protein is the cheese industry? That's where they get it from.
Okay.
Something about Miss Moppet. I don't know. So looking for a whey protein isolate, you're looking for 20 plus grams of protein per serving, and you're looking for 4 or less grams of carbs per serving. If you can find a protein that fits those requirements, that's it. That's all you need to do. That's good.
Okay.
The kind I like has 25 grams of protein per serving, 1 gram of carbs per serving. It's 110 calories per scoop, and it's a whey protein isolate. It's fantastic. It does exactly what I need it to do.
Great. That's the kind of advice we need because, I was faced with this huge array, it's like shelves and shelves of this stuff, pea proteins and all this kind of stuff. And we just looked at each other thinking, I don't know what's the right thing to do. And it was really quite challenging, but they're all quite expensive as well. So people can sway just by the cost, let alone what's the right thing. So I think that's really good advice. So thanks for that. But I was still surprised about a protein shake for breakfast. As a guy who used to go to the gym, generally used to take the protein shake before I went to the gym at that time. And I guess, is that right or wrong, would you say?
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
Still the right
Pre and post workout nutrition should be basically the same thing. Proteins and carbohydrates for building muscle, proteins for just build it like recovery and repair of the muscles. So kind of depending on what your goals are, changing the proteins up a bit. But I love a protein shake for breakfast because it's whatever you need it to be. So if you need a higher fat in the morning, great. You just add some almond butter or peanut butter. Great. You want, like for me, I've been dealing with some like cold COVID symptoms. So I've been putting a ton of vitamin or cinnamon in there, anti-inflammatory, immune boosting. Been putting vitamin D3 in there. And then I've been doing my protein shakes with vitamin C in it as well. I put like a packet of emergency in there. So your protein shake can transform into be whatever nutrient delivery device that you need. And bonus points, if you can make every single breakfast taste like a Reese's peanut butter cup, why wouldn't you do that?
Okay. I'm one of these guys, my job, we discussed this, is involves visiting suppliers and business meetings a lot. And so I kind of relate to people who have to do that. So you're traveling, you're jumping on one kind of form of transport to another, from airplanes into hotels, and then you're going out for business restaurant meetings, that sort of stuff. And that's really tough for a business guy to get a diet that is appropriate, especially when you see a lot of these places have generic menus. So what kind of advice and tips can you give to a business traveler who doesn't know necessarily where they're going to be from one week to the next, how to choose the healthy options from these difficult menus to select from?
Do I have a book for you? So that's what we talk about in the $1 Million Body book. And here's why this is different from a lot of things, is that I don't care what diet you do. You can do $1 Million Body method with a Mediterranean diet. You can do it with a paleo diet. You could half-ass it with a keto diet. But it doesn't really matter because this is not a diet. This is a framework for eating. It's a nutritional framework that you can apply to any situation, any restaurant, any like scenario that you need especially. So when you think about like the framework that we created, and Yeah, I'm just going to give it away right now. You can get the book. I'll actually give your book away for free to the people, listeners that you have here, Dave. But basically what you want to look for is for breakfast, proteins and fats. Okay. So we already talked about protein shake. That's eggs and bacon. That's chicken thighs and almonds. Okay. For lunch, we're looking at proteins and vegetables. That's a big salad. That's like fajitas minus the tortillas. That's like some leftover meat and a bag of carrots. And then for dinner, we're looking at protein, carbs, and vegetables. So that could be you go Indian and have like rice and like, I don't even know what it's called. I'm totally blanking. You can get something at a Thai restaurant. You can get something at a Chinese restaurant. You can get something at a steakhouse. You get a steak and potato. You can get something at a Mexican restaurant. You can get those fajitas and eat the tortillas. So it's not necessarily about like, you have to eat this food and it has to be asparagus. It's like, no, fit where you're at with the framework. And then once you have the framework, you just take that, you put it in your back pocket and you never have to worry about it again because you already are prepared. So like, I think that like a lot of people think, oh, I need to prepare my foods. They think they need to bring Tupperware to like grandma's house, like, on Thanksgiving or Christmas. And your grandma's looking at you like, what a nerd. But you don't need that. You need to be mentally prepared with a framework. It's like following a recipe rather than having to like do exactly specific this type of food, which I think renders smart, capable professionals into like neurotic children who are like, what should I eat here? Because the industry is so loud and so noisy. So simplify it down, figure out the framework that fits your lifestyle. By the way, I think it's probably $1 Million Body Method, and then just use that. And then at that point, what we're looking for is it to be boring. Once you get to the point where you're like, my food's been really boring recently. Congratulations, you're winning.
Okay. Another thing that struck me in your book was for me, the minimal reference to fruit. In my family's life, fruit is a huge part of our intake of food. Did I miss something? Is fruit not an important part, or is it just a small element of your diet?
So I'll say this: fruit is not an important part of the diet. And it's nothing wrong with fruit. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, oh, eating strawberries makes you fat. But again, what we're looking for is low carb breakfast, low carb lunch, high carb dinner. Fruits are carbs. So if you like fruits, great. That's a great thing to have at night. Perfect. It fits perfectly with the framework. If you want to have fruits with breakfast, you want to have fruits with lunch, that's no problem. Just making sure that you're understanding that, like, if you are in any way insulin resistant, which means your body doesn't process carbohydrates well, that could slow you down. It could cause more cravings. Again, it's your world. It's your life. You can do those things. And I have people kind of what I think of as in phase 3 who are in like more of a recomp muscle building phase. They do fruit all day. It's no problem. But you have to kind of earn the right to do that by hitting what I think of as a specific waist to height ratio in order to be able to eat fruit all day long. Otherwise, it just stays at dinner. And that waist to height ratio, in case you were measuring, so just take your height in centimeters or your waist in centimeters divided by your height in centimeters. And that number should be 0.46 or less.
Okay, that's fascinating. Okay, let's maybe put myself on the block here. I'll be a test case, and you can tell me how terrible I am. Okay, so I just took a note today actually of the kind of things I eat, and this is fairly normal for me. Okay, so I tend to haul myself out of bed at about 5:10 in the morning. Okay, and I'll do a little bit of meditation, and I'll do 15 minutes of a kind of HIIT exercise, like shadow boxing, that kind of stuff. So I'll follow on with taking a cold shower, and I'll have my breakfast. Let's say it's about 6:45. And for me, as I mentioned just now, it's just a big bowl of fruit. Now, that sustains me right through to lunchtime. I don't feel hungry till 1 o'clock. And I never have done when I eat fruit. If I had, let's say, boiled eggs, then I'd be starving come 10 o'clock. But there we go. At lunchtime, if I don't have a kind of veggie omelette, I'll have a baked potato and beans, and I won't have any butter in there. And then I'll get through to about 6:30, 7 and have a meal, which is usually meat, veg, and a potato or rice and something. You mentioned Thai. I had Thai last night. My wife does a cracking Thai. And then I'll be lights out after reading a bit of a book at 10 o'clock. Now, how terrible am I?
Oh my gosh. I don't know how you're still standing in front of me right now. No, Dave, you're fine, man. Like, so it's not optimal, but like it's working for you. So like, that's good. If you were like sitting here and being like, hey, I've been trying to lose the last 10 kilos for 5 years, I'd be like, okay, we got some work to do. But if you're like, I feel good, I look good, I'm exactly where I want to be, like live your life. The big problem that I see is that you don't have protein till dinner. There's not a single scrap of protein in there. You said if you had boiled eggs, you'd be hungry again. Depends on how many boiled eggs you have. If you had 6, you probably wouldn't be that hungry. And I think that a lot of people think that, I should only have 2 eggs or 3 eggs. Like, nah, have 5 eggs, have 6 eggs. Enjoy that, because each egg is only 7 grams of protein. And Dave, what you should be having is about 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So 2 grams per kilo, I guess, something close to that.
It's quite interesting, because when I was, my wife has eggs for breakfast every day, but she'll have 3 sort of soft-boiled eggs. And I started doing that for quite a while, but I was absolutely ravenous come 10 o'clock. I could have eaten a horse at that time. So, but when I flipped across to having fruit, and it'd be a massive combination of different fruits, it costs us a fortune, our fruit bill every week. It just sustained me through to 1 o'clock. And sometimes I don't even think about dinner at 1. And that's what I found quite interesting when I was reading your book.
Well, fruit's also high in fiber. Fiber can be really beneficial in terms of keeping your body satiated and feeling full all day. So why don't you just go half and half? Three eggs, bowl of fruit, cut that fruit bill down a little bit, get a little more protein. 3 eggs, only 21 grams of protein. So like it's better than nothing, but it's still not kind of ideally what I want. I'd like to see you hitting 50 grams for breakfast. And I think protein and fiber are the 2 most satiating nutrients.
Yeah.
So if you're getting enough of those, you're going to feel the same way. You're going to feel satisfied. You're going to feel full. And then I think that if you're having a little bit of fat with that too, you get this nice time release energy where you're just like feeling good all day. You're engineering that winning feeling.
Yeah, that's good. I shall try that starting tomorrow then. Let's see how I get on, and I'll keep you up to speed. I'll let you know how I get on with that.
Track your protein, Dave, for the next 5 days or so. Don't track calories or anything else. Every time you have protein though, just put a little note in your phone and see what you end up with. Because if it's under 100 grams, we got some work to do.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Thanks for that. That's great. So before I ask one final question, I think it's right that you share with people, how do people get hold of your work, to find out more about yourself, more about your teachings? What sort of social media and websites should people be looking for?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So there's 3 main ways. You can check out $1 Million Body Method book. It's on Amazon. You can pick it up there, leave me a review. I'd love you forever. Great. If not though, if you want to just check it out, I'd be happy to send you a digital copy. So Dave, your listeners, I'll give it to them for free. Basically, all you got to do is go to trainingsystems.com/book to get that. You can also connect with me on Instagram at the $1 Million Body Method. And then I also run a amazing community on Facebook called Lose the Gut, Eat More Tacos, Never Track Calories, the MDB Project. And you can jump into that. I posted actually a meal plan 2 days ago in there. So you can check that out. I post trainings. I post my master classes. So I'm always putting out my best content in that group. You can join us there by going to n8trainingsystems.com/group. So those are the 3 main ways to connect. Instagram, I just spend more time on that than anywhere else. So
brilliant. That's very generous of you as well. So thanks for offering that to the listeners. So very much appreciated. So just as a sort of a last sum up then, what would be one of your most memorable success stories where you've helped to transform someone's life through your nutritional and fitness guidance? We mentioned one person at the start. Is there anybody else you'd like to share a really heartwarming story of what can be achieved through your methods?
Yeah, I think back to there's a couple of people that come to mind right away, but I know we're kind of living in the time of COVID right now. And I had a client who was pushing 315 pounds, almost 150 kilos, and worked with him over the course of a year or so. And he dropped about 85 pounds. So got back down into a healthier range, still a bit overweight. But then he got COVID and it knocked him on his ass. And he was down for a full month. He got one of those early variations, really sick, respiratory issues. And he came back to me and was like, oh my gosh, I'm so thankful for what we've accomplished over the last year, because if I had gotten this a year ago, there's no question in my mind I'd be dead right now. And so just to think of it from that perspective of it's nice to look good, it's nice to feel good, it's nice to have energy, but man, this is your life we're talking about. And if you don't control that, if you don't get into a place where you're healthy enough to be able to survive COVID, a cold, even a stroke or something like that, because you don't know what's coming, that's critical that we start working on that right away. So that's kind of a big success in my mind. And just in terms of that, he was able to get to the place where that did not end him.
That's great. Well, I think it's been quite a fascinating podcast, a little bit technical in some ways, but the information you've given across it certainly shows your stuff. And I think everybody should take a lot of notice of what you've said. The fact you can come out with these details, you can bring out the technical aspects so quickly. Everybody listening to this should really be going out and grabbing your books and giving it some, attention, I think. So thank you very much for all that really good information.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I don't shout this much in my book. So this is I just saved this kind of energy for the podcast. So
that's brilliant. Well, thanks very much for your time. It's been a superb podcast, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.
Thanks, Dave. Pleasure to be on.
Thank you. Bye. So there's another Real Life Buyer podcast. I do hope you enjoyed it and it's given you some ideas and inspiration for greater action and achievement. If you are a purchasing or a supply chain professional, business owner or director, come and join my Facebook group, the Purchasing and Supply Chain Community Hub, a safe place to engage with like-minded, friendly people. See you soon. Bye.